Hi, welcome back. For today's bracelet, we will need some beading wire, 18 8mm glass pearls, 1 4mm glass pearl. We need 5 of these rondelles, these rhinestone rondelles, and these are 8x4mm. You use whatever color you want. You can get a pack that has all mixed colors. There's a purple and a blue and a green and an amber, whatever color you want to use. We need 3 jump rings. Now I have some crimp beads here. Technically we just need 2 crimp beads. Sometimes I mess my crimp beads up, so I always make sure I have extra. We need a clasp. I have a small length of chain here so that I can make an extender for the bracelet. Of course you don't have to. We need 2 wire guards. Well, you don't have to use these, but I think they're important. We need 2 crimp covers. I think I got these from Fire Mountain Gems. But I believe just about everything that I have here you can get at your local craft store or Etsy. Now today I am making a bridesmaid bracelet. So I just have this little charm. But you can get these for different people of the bridal party. I have Mother of the Groom, Mother of the Bride, Flower Girl, and Bride. Now this is bigger than the rest of them, but I think it's still small enough that you could get away with a bracelet, but it would definitely make a nice necklace. And let me see. The tools I'm using today are round nose plier, wire cutter, a couple of chain nose pliers, and I have this crimping tool. Now I've had this forever. I don't remember where I purchased it. But if you're going to do quite a few things with crimp beads, you might want to purchase one of these. I don't really think they're that expensive. However, if you're going to make just this one thing, you could probably get away with using a chain nose plier. However, I've never done that, so I'm going to use this. Oh yes, we do need a head pin. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything, but check the description box. I'll put everything in there. Okay, so gather your supplies and we'll get started. Now, I have cut a piece of my beading wire. This is probably 12 inches or so. We really don't need it that long. I just like to have extra. Now, if you're using a wire guard, there's kind of like a little tube here that we can feed this through. And this will protect your wire for a long, long time. So we'll pull this wire up through that one side, and now let's take it back down through the other. So that now both sides of our wire are through this wire guard. And pull it down. Now we're not going to worry too much about what this wire guard is doing right this second. We need to get our crimp bead on. So we'll pick up our crimp bead. And now we need to slide this over both of the wires where the wire guard is. Now we don't want to put it real tight up against the wire guard because we have the crimp cover that we need to put on. So I think I will put mine right about there. And with the crimping tool, We will first squeeze it with this section and then squeeze it with the top section. So just put that on and give it a squeeze. I don't know if you can see that, but we're going to squeeze it. And that has flattened out our crimp. Now, taking the top section, we are going to squeeze it again. That should fold those edges over. And now everything is going to stay where we need it to stay. Now it's time to put on our beads. And you can do any sequence or pattern that you want. I'm doing 3 pearls and then a rondelle. Now with this first one, let's take it over top of that loose wire that we have. And then the next one, we'll finish covering that wire. So here is my second bead. And let's put it over top of this wire to keep it inside of the bracelet. And one more pearl, or whatever bead you're using. So here are our 3 beads, covering that tail nicely. And now I'm going to put on a rondelle spacer, which snuggles quite nicely against that 8mm bead. And now I'm just going to put on 3 more beads, a spacer, 3 more beads, a spacer, 3 more beads, a spacer, and then I will come back. So I have all of my beads and spacers on for the size bracelet that I'm making. Now, for this other end, I need to put the crimp bead on. That is, if I can pick it up. Okay. Now let's put this crimp bead on. And then our wire guard. So we'll put it on just like we did before, through these little openings, which, unless you can see really well, are very, very hard to see. Oh, I also trimmed off the rest of this unnecessary wire. And feed it through the second section of our guard, and then through the crimp bead. Through the crimp bead. Okay, that was fiddly. Now I'm going to pull my wire and hold on to my guard so that I can get this wire closer to this bead. Now keep in mind, we're going to place a charm through here. We're also going to put on 2 crimp covers. So you do not want to make this super, super tight. You don't want to make it tight anyway. You just want it to have some kind of flow and movement, really. You don't want these beads all shoved real tight and hard up against each other. Okay. Pulling this wire until we get it down to the point where we're comfortable with the amount of space that we have left between our beads. Now, I'm going to do a crimp cover on both sides and a charm somewhere on the bracelet. Of course, you put the charm wherever you want it. I don't think I'm going to go a whole lot tighter than what it is right now. Really, I think the worst thing you can do is make this super tight. That's what I used to do years ago when I first started making this type of bracelet. My biggest mistake was always making them way too tight. Okay, let me go off camera and double check what I have going on here, and then we'll finish. Okay, yes, I left it the way I had it, and you can see, or I hope you can see, about how much space I have here. So now I'm just going to crimp this crimp bead like we did before. Go in with the bottom section of our crimper. Right now my fingers are in my way. Okay, squeeze that, which gives it a flatness. Is flatness a word? I don't know. Now let's go in with the top part of our crimper and go ahead and squeeze that. To flatten out our crimp. We're not flattening it out, I guess we're rounding it out basically. And if you're not happy with it, you can go around a few times to make it the way you want it. Now with this wire, I'm going to take this through several beads and through a rondelle, and just keep feeding this down through and then trim off the excess. So feed that wire down through your beads and then trim off the excess. Okay, I decided just to go down through 2 of my beads. So now we're going to cut this excess, and my poor abused wire cutters will not cut something this fine anymore. So I'm going to have to use a pair of scissors. So just get it done however you can and get off that excess. So here's our bracelet. Now let's move on to the next step. Okay, now I have placed my crimp cover onto my crimp bead, and it is important to make sure that you get covers that will cover the size crimp that you're using. And now I'm going to use the top part of my crimping tool just to squeeze this closed so that we have a nice finish on the end of our bracelet. Obviously this is not necessary if you don't want to, but I really like the way it looks. So if you're going to use crimp covers too, go ahead and put one on the other side, and then we'll continue on. Okay, so now it is time to work on our extender. Now, of course, you can just attach your extender and be done. That's perfectly fine. But I like to put a bead at the end of mine. So I have this little 4mm pearl and the head pin. And now I'm just going to make a wrap loop for this head pin. Nothing fancy, just regular everyday wrapped loop. Now I'm going to open this up a little bit and place my chain onto this loop we just made. Let's flatten that out. And complete the wrap. Okay, let's trim that off, that excess wire. Not your eyes. And let's squeeze this little cut end down into our wrap so that it doesn't catch on anything. Okay, now I think that extender is just too long. I don't measure anything, kind of go by eye. I believe I'm going to cut this down some. And you don't have to use an extender if you don't want to. Yes, I think that's adequate. So I'm just going to open up a jump ring. Place my extender on the jump ring. And then onto the bracelet. And we're just going to close this jump ring back up. Now on the other side, let's open a jump ring. Place that on the other side of our bracelet. And our clasp, whatever clasp you're using. Use a toggle, use magnetic, whatever you prefer. And lastly, we're just going to put our charm. Now, obviously, you put your charm wherever you want to on your bracelet. Now I'm just going to pick a spot and go for it. So we have that nice gap where it's not an issue fighting to get that jump ring in there. And let's go ahead and close this up. So there we are, sweet little bridesmaid bracelet. And now this charm has bridesmaid on both sides, so it really doesn't matter which side you wear it on. Now, you don't have to use an extender, of course, but I suggest you do if you're going to sell these. The average adult female bracelet is between 7 and 7.5 inches, but you can't just throw everybody in that one group. So the way I see it is make it 7 or even a little smaller. Add this extension. So when you sell it, you can make the customer aware that they have all this extra space if they need it to be larger. Or they can just hook it here and use the smaller. And use different color pearls, use crystals, use whatever bead you want. You could put several of these spacers together and just 1 or 2 beads in between. There's a whole lot you can do with this. Thank you so much for watching.